my crafty peeps. This is Cheyenne from EC Design Studios. Today I'm going to show you how to make this shaker card featuring Stampin' Up's Jar of Love bundle. We're also going to be using some gorgeous grunge stamps on this. Been loving those. Alright, let's go over supplies. Alright, so you're going to need the Jar of Love bundle. This is a wonderful set. Love it. Alright, the stamps that we're going to need are the large mason jar, the lid for the mason jar, the little firefly or dragonfly, whatever you choose to make it, but for our purposes it's the firefly, the You Light Up My Life sentiment. I think that's it. We're also going to need the framelets that go with it, the large mason jar, and the lid to the mason jar. Alright, next, for the gorgeous grunge stamp set, seriously, this is worth purchasing. Alright, loving the paint splatters. This one makes a wonderful like washi tape effect. Haven't played with this one yet, but you know I will. Today we're going to use the little light paint flecks, speckles. Call them speckles. That's what they call them on Easter eggs. Alright, ink colors. The background speckles, art splatter, paint splatter, are going to be in Blushing Bride, Wisteria Wonder, and Marina Mist. These are part of the Subtles collection. Okay, you're going to need your basic black archival ink. We're going to stamp the fireflies in this ink so that we can use our blender pen on them and they won't run and swerve and do crazy things, as ink will always do. Anyway, we're going to be stamping the jar with Soft Sky. This is also from the Subtles collection. The lid of the card, of the mason jar, is heat embossed, so we're going to need our Versamark and our gold embossing powder and a embossing gun too. That's going to be very important. Alright, your paper measurements. We're doing a standard A2 card, so piece of 8.5 by 11 paper, cut in half at 5.5, scored at 4 1/4, folded, ta-da! And then we're going to need a piece of probably 4 5 1/4. I did not get the measurements right on that, but I'm going to go with 4 by 5 1/4 so that you've got about 1/4 of an inch gap around your card. You're also going to need window sheet. This is cut at 4 3/4 by 3 1/2. As long as it's covering your shaker opening, you're okay. I tend to cut mine a little bigger. It's just what I do. You're going to need a scrap piece of Whisper White cardstock. It's just got to be wide enough that you can stamp your sentiment on it and it'll fit. Don't have to go crazy. And now this is a fun little thing. This is a piece of the Stampin' Up cotton ribbon. It comes natural in color, just like this on the spool. You can dye this with your inks. All you need to do is get your silicone mat. You're going to take your ink pad, rub it on your silicone mat, spray your ribbon with a little bit of water, get it a little damp, and then swipe it across and just keep dyeing it until you get the desired color. Let it air dry, or you can speed it up with a heat gun, maybe a small little craft iron if you have it. I just let mine air dry. Alright, we're also going to need to color the fireflies with some Stampin' Right markers. You're going to need your blender pen. We're going to use Soft Sky and Tempting Turquoise for the wings of the firefly. For the body of the firefly, we're going to be using Crushed Curry and So Saffron. And for the glow, we're going to be using Daffodil Delight. Now you don't have to use all the colors that I do. Customize it to your own color preferences and tastes and the supplies that you have. It doesn't have to be exact. I'm just showing you what I used. Alright, now for your little shaker bits, I picked up this little packet at my local craft store. It's Recollections Metallic Iridescent Glitter Shapes. I have been loving these for my shaker cards. I got another set too, and I have a feeling I'm going to end up collecting them all. They look beautiful in shakers. Oh look, I've got some stars. They've come out to play. But yeah, for today I'm thinking these little iridescent ones are going to be fantastic. So, let's see, we've got our foam tape. These are great for going around the edges of your shaker on the inside to get that depth that you need. Wonderful, highly recommend these for shaker cards. We've got our Stampin' Scrub and our Stampin' Mist to clearing off our stamps. You're also going to need for the embossing powder, like a scratch piece of paper, so that when you shake off the embossing, you can recapture it. I believe I've covered everything for the supplies, so let me get set up and we'll start making the card. Okay, the first thing we're going to do is take our 5 1/4 by 4 sheet of Whisper White cardstock, and we're going to punch out the mason jar in the front. This is going to allow us to then punch through to the bottom, or not punch through, stamp through to the bottom to get the dimensional look that I'm wanting. Alright, so you're going to need your Big Shot, your magnetic platform. If you're using thinlits and framelits, I highly recommend investing in the magnetic platform. It really does help your pieces to stay where they are. So you need one of your cutting sheets, you need your Whisper White cardstock, and then we have our little mason jar. And we're just going to set that on. See, I've got this. It looks like it's pretty centered. Let me grab the ribbon because I want to make sure we're going to have room for everything. You could measure, but I'm not gonna, because it's handmade and it's okay if it's not quite right. Alright, you're going to place your other cutting pad on top, and you're going to run it through just like that. Super easy and simple. And we're going to need this to come back out, so I'm not putting it too far away. But I'm also very thrifty with my scraps, so we're actually going to be using the center of the mason jar. Oh, that's the wonderful look. Woo. Alright, to stamp and heat emboss the top of our mason jar. So here we have our Versamark. You could stamp the mason jar on this one and then have it for another project. I'm just going to do this because this is easier for me. Oh, and actually, I do a lot of these mason jars lately, so I'm going to go ahead and stamp multiples on here and hope that I am stamping them far enough apart that I can actually cut them all out. Alright, this is a piece of cheap printer paper, nothing too fancy. We're just using it to catch the gold embossing powder. Sprinkle it over. Embossing powder is never a bad purchase. You really get your money's worth out of this. Alright, I see where I have an embossing buddy coming in my next order, but it's not here yet. The embossing buddy is really going to help with any of these static cling, and I've gotten quite a bit of static cling. You could use a dryer sheet if you wanted to. I've never used a dryer sheet. I don't use dryer sheets at all. I have serious allergies and sinus issues, and dryer sheets tend to not be too fantastic for me. So we're just going to clean that up. We're going to recollect our embossing powder. Seriously, y'all, these little tubs of embossing powder are going to last a very long time. I still have embossing powders from when I first started with my paper crafting, and this was see, my son's going to be 12, so at least 13 years ago. Alright, let me grab my heat gun. Now when you're using a heat gun, you want to turn it on and let it heat up first, and then move it to your project. This is going to help prevent the warping that you can sometimes get from heating your projects. I'm going to use a little pair of tweezers, because I've been burned before. It's like magic. What once was powder is now shiny and new. Gorgeous, love it. Okay, putting our heat gun aside. Bringing back the big shot. Moving the mason jar framelit, because if that disappears, I may never find it again, and I would be sad. Alright. Magnetic base plate, cutting platform, oh no, cutting, I'm actually not sure what these things are, the clear plastic sheets that you use to cut with. And I'm just going to cut out one of these. You see, you just line it up, make it seem so easy, but sometimes it can be a bit of a challenge even with the magnetic base plate. You have to have patience. Sometimes you just need to take your time. Alright, I'm only going to cut out one of these for now. So there we have the lid to the mason jar. All nice and embossed and fancy. Alright, I'm going to move the camera back down so you can start to really see what's going on. And we'll be right back. Okay, first step we're going to do is stamp the splatters, the speckles, on our cover sheet. So, got our nice mason jar cut out of the piece of Whisper White. We're going to put that on actually, I'm going to put it on there, but I'm going to do some double stamping and stuff like that. Alright, I'm going to start out with the Blushing Bride color. Alright, so we've got our stamp. I'm going to make sure it's nice and adhered before I go crazy. So tap your color on. I know you can so see the Blushing Bride on the red rubber stamp. It's crazy, it's crazy. Alright, there is no real rhyme or reason to this. You're just gonna stamp. And do at least, 2 stamps on it so that you can, really get some texture going. Some different layers. I think that's it for now. Alright, I've got my Stampin' Mist and my Stampin' Scrub. Clean off the stamp in between. Alright, let's do the Marina Mist now. It's okay to overlap. Overlapping is good. Not many things in life are quite that way. Alright, let's get some Wisteria Wonder, and then we can go back and fill in any areas that are just looking a little stark. What's great about these stamp pads, or the stamp, it's a textured background. You can go crazy. Let's get one more. Actually, I want some lighter bits going through here. I think we need a little bit more blue. So I'm stamping on my scrap paper so that we can get a little bit more dimension in the color. It's not going to be so bright. It won't be overwhelming. It won't start to look too muddy. I think that is good for a nice, simple, speckled background. Just like that. You've kind of made your own background paper. Got a video on that coming up eventually. Alright, so we're going to close up these stamp pads because we are all done with these. I love all the colors that Stampin' Up! Does. I have the subtles, the brights, the in colors, the latest in colors. I'm getting the neutrals in the next order. And there's really not a bad one in the bunch. I wasn't too sure about the Regals, but then I got the Marvelous marker set. It's not the actual name, but it's the big box of all the markers except for the in colors. And they're all wonderful. Alright, so we're pretty much done with this. However, we are going to need our card base to come over and say hello. And we need to position this on the front of the card so that we know where to stamp the background mason jar. Just another way to add layers. If you had Stays on ink, you could stamp directly onto the window sheet with it on top. I just wanted it to maybe have a little bit more of a 3D effect. So, alright, we've got our soft sky. I am really liking this for the glass colors, the clear glass. Alright, we're going to match it up, line it up, press it down. Now, I have noticed too with the Stampin' Up! Inks, you almost have to give them time to kind of absorb into the paper. But when they do, it's gorgeous. So when you're doing more of a solid stamp, if you've got like watercolor butterflies or something where it's got a really solid image on it, when you first take it off, it might look a little splotchy, but just give it like a minute or so, probably not even that long, and it's just going to fill out the color, and it's going to be gorgeous. Okay, so now we have to get the fireflies inside the jar. Now what you're going to do is you're going to wait until it's dusk or just starting to get dark. You're going to go out into your yard and you're going to start to capture the fireflies. Don't do that. You probably don't want to do that because that's going to end up in a lot of dead fireflies in your shaker. And I think it would be a really difficult thing to wrangle. Okay, one last stamping thing before we do the fireflies while I'm thinking about it, otherwise I'm going to completely forget. Let's stamp our sentiment real quick, because we need to get out the Archival Black anyway. Stamp that up. Pop it on and off and shake it around. I mean, look at that crisp image. This is a really fine stamp. And it gives you so crisp. This is what quality means in a stamp. Alright, let's get out our little fireflies. Now, when you're doing multiples of something, it is more artistic and pleasing the eye to do odd numbers. So 1, 3, 5. We're going to do 3. We're also going to do some double stamping here, so one of them looks like it's further back. We've got 1. Oh no! Let me get my head in the shot and try to line that up. Okay, 1. It's not horrible. It's not horrible. We can work with it. It's handmade. It's okay. 2. And without doing anything else, I'm just going to stamp another one. You see how it looks like it's a little bit further back? It's all illusion. It's all about the illusion. Alright, let us start to color in our butterflies. But for that, we're going to need an acrylic block, because we're not going to color directly onto the fireflies the little buggies, we're going to use the Stampin' Up markers as a palette. Trying to put it on the white to see if be able to see the colors better. Alright, I don't know how much you're going to see of that one, but it's on there. So you take your Stampin' Up marker. These do come in a set of 3, and from what I've seen so far, you're going to have these for quite a long time. Alright, so I'm starting out with my lightest color, which is Soft Sky. I've colored some onto the block. Nope, you're not going to be able to see that. I'm going to use the marker. We're just going to color in the wings. And I'm not going to be too crazy precise about it because they're in a mason jar. And that's going to distort the image a little bit. Alright, when you need to change your colors, you just wipe your blender pen on a piece of paper until it comes clean. Now we've got the Tempting Turquoise. I think that one you can see a little bit better on the block. Again, just picking it up with the blender pen. And I'm just doing a little bit right near the body of it. Just to give it a little bit of extra depth. And now I'm going to erase it off, and I'm just going to pull it out with a little bit of the clean. If you were using the blender pens on watercolor paper or the shimmery white cardstock, you can blend a little more. Like, you can really make it look more like a Copic type effect. Alright, now we've got our So Saffron. This is going to be for the light up body of the fireflies. I don't know why we always color these yellow. If you look at a firefly, it's definitely more of a green glow that they give off. But, you know, why are heart shapes heart shapes? Doesn't resemble a heart at all. These are just one of those things that will always be bothering us. Alright, so we're going to do a little bit of shadow on these. So you just kind of want to use your crushed curry just to kind of go down one side of it, and this is going to help make them look a little bit more three-dimensional. Alright, now our Daffodil Delight for our glow. I'm just going to pick up a little bit. Start out, and then you just want to kind of keep going out until it's more of a clear color, so that you get that nice diffused subtle look. It's really soft. You can even let up on some of the pressure to help get that diffusion going. And see, there we go. And it is going to be, you know, covered with glitter sequins and stuff, so, you know, you don't have to commit too much to all of this. Alright, let's get our block out of the way. And now, I believe we have all the bits and pieces to start putting together this shaker box. Alright, let's get our foam tape out. Pop open the Ziploc. And they're really firm Ziplocs. Like, I really had to work at that one. And we're going to need... Alright, so let's take our front piece. I'm going to turn it around to the back. Take off one of your strips of foam tape. Take off the backing on the other side of the foam tape. This means that both sides is live sticky. So be careful, but doing this also makes it easier to bend it around the different shapes. It's science, y'all. It's science. So you're just going to kind of leave a little bit of a gap because we don't necessarily want to see the foam tape. And you're going to start lining the inside of the mason jar. Oh, you know what? We can't do this yet. we have to put down the window sheet first. So let's adhere that before we do anything else. So much like I was just going to do with the foam tape, I'm going to outline the cutout mason jar with the Snail adhesive, trying to pick up the window sheet. Actually, here we go. Anti-static, no, not anti-static, anti-lint microfiber sheet. Every craft room should have it. Alright, taking the window sheet, we're going to adhere that down, pushing it in really well. There we go. Okay, now let's get a new piece of foam tape. Because the other one has a little bit of paper going on. Alright. New piece of foam tape. Take off the backing and go around the open shape. This is where it starts to get a little more satisfying because the card it's coming together. It's almost done. All of your hard work is going to pay off, I promise. Alright, just connect up the pieces. So that's that. Alright, that piece of foam tape that got a little messed up, we're going to use it along the outside because you want it to be pretty sturdy in your in-between layer. You don't want the paper to just get all, weird and warped, and won't easily survive the mail at that point either. If you're going to hand it to someone, you could probably use a little bit less foam tape. And I just try to make my things sturdy. I'm putting a lot of time and effort into making these, so I want them to be a quality product. I want them to last. Alright. I'm going to put a little bit of the Snail adhesive on the side with the paper that got stuck to it. You're not going to necessarily need to do that at home unless you did an oopsie like me. But that's what comes with filming YouTube videos, because it can't all go super smooth. Alright, so we've got our foam tape on. We are now going to take our glitter. We're going to sprinkle it in like little star magics. You know what? There's some hearts in here. Actually, the hearts that I want to use aren't in this one. They're in one of my other ones. Let's see. We've got some little hearts that are open. No, I don't want the purple flowers. Got a couple of those in there anyway. Alright, little hearts that are cut out in the center. It's just nice. I just like it. Alright, next step, we're going to adhere our ribbon. Going to adhere the shaker. We've got all the stuff in it. So now comes the fun and challenging part. Getting it all to line up. Which is easier said than done. All right. And there we go, a nice little shaker. Now with the shakers, you can add as little or as much as you want. Go crazy. This one, I liked the glitter, but as you can see, it's covering it up so much that you can actually see the fireflies in it, and it kind of takes away from all my work and effort. Alright, now we're going to adhere the ribbon on. This is something that we probably could have done before we put the shaker together, but sometimes you just got to live on the edge. Alright, I'm just going to put some Snail adhesive. You could also use some of the Tombow mono adhesive. No, you can't use that. Don't do that. It doesn't work. I tried. Sometimes those things work, sometimes they don't. Alright, so our Tombow multi-glue. Spread that all over. Pop it on. Just going to cut the edges. Now if I had remembered to put this on before we put the shaker together, I would have just wrapped it around to the back and taped it using the cheater method as made famous by my pink stamper. But I did not remember to do that, so we're going with it. Learn from my mistakes so that you can make all new mistakes, all your own. Okay, ribbon is on. Now we need our sentiment. Just going to cut that out. Oh, it looks like on the original card I also stamped the sentiment in Old Olive, which is what I colored the ribbon in. It's alright, we can use this. We'll go with it. We can rock and roll. Alright, since the ribbon was not sticking with the snail adhesive, we're going to use some more of the Tombow Mono liquid glue, multi. I'm not sure what order that's supposed to be in. And pop that on. We're going to use a couple dimensionals for the jar lid. Do 1 and 2. Again, if you were giving this to someone hand to hand and it wasn't going through the mail, you could probably get away with just 1 dimensional, but I don't want to risk it. Alright, and we're just going to pop that on at a jaunty little angle. One of the things I forgot to mention is the basic pearls. The original card, I added a couple onto it just as a little bling. Use the pearls, rhinestones, whatever, have fun. Make it your own. So we're just going to use one of the big ones, and then one of the medium-sized ones. It's all about adding visual interest and leading the eye. And there we go. We have 2 shaker cards. Super fun. I don't know, this one, it's got a more satisfying sound to it. So, alright, thank you so much for joining me today and learning how to make shaker cards. Let's keep the obsessions going. Alright, everything will be in the description bar. Visit me at my blog, ecdesignstudio.com, for more information and more projects and lots of fun stuff. Thank you. Bye-bye.